yes. Yes, you are tuned into Cosmic Root Show. This is your brother Siayome, aka Cosmic Hell Mystic, also known as Ab Ankrem. Yeah, I got many titles and multidimensional as we all are. Yes, you're tuned into Cosmic Root Show. And yeah, we're gonna have a very interesting reasoning this evening. Yes, it's gonna get a little hotter. Also to say, just thanks to Sod, who was the previous presenter just now, and you know, the end of the show kind of flowed into where the discussion kind of evoked more intense type of deeper insight to be discussed and brought up about the very nature of what we're calling God and the very things people still believe in, as we're all seeking to free ourselves from, you know, dogmas and limited mindsets of whatever. And so, you know, we go through our own various different ways in doing that. And so, you know, he may not have managed to say goodnight to his own listeners. And, you know, we apologize for that. But yes, you know, good night, Sod. And for the listeners and Brother Reiner, who was, you know, the last talker on the Sod show. But now you're tuned into Brother Siayome, Cosmic Root Show. And yes, tonight's topic is about what is spiritual awakening. Okay, this is what this is the title of the topic this evening. What is spiritual awakening? Okay, so this is gonna go in. We're gonna go into it, you know, maybe in a different way to what others, how we may be perceiving this, because there's a whole heap of stuff going on right now, and you'd have to be numb if you're not feeling it. You see what I'm saying, or aware of it. But there is an illusion aspect of this that is also in effect, and then there is the reality behind the phenomena that a lot of people are getting caught up in. So yes, what is spiritual awakening? You know, good question. I'm gonna approach it. I'm going to approach it in my way, and see what callers come in this evening, because sometimes I'm just on the flow, y'all, and that's how it is. So yes, so stay tuned in, and I'll be back with you in a few ticks. Yes. Yeah, here I am. I'm back. And yes, y'all, we are on the Cosmic Root Show tonight, on this cosmic ride, this cosmic ship, this cosmic craft, and we're going to be taking off. So, you know, I just got yeah, before as I start off, I had a text just come in with a friend of mine said, "You're gonna like this." They thought I would like this, so I'm gonna read this out. Um, in relating to what we're gonna be talking about this evening, what is spiritual awakening? I find this little caption very interesting. The physical edge of energy is appearance. Learn to see spirit, then bless the world. Now. So I'll say that again. The physical edge of energy, the physical edge of energy is appearance. However, beyond the physical, we need to learn to see spirit. And when you learn to see spirit, you then can bless the world. This is what this caption was sent to me, and I feel it does have a good sense in it, and I like that. You know what I mean? Yes, I'd like to give a good shout out to the various listeners who's tuned in there now. I'd like to give a shout out to yes, Cousin Theo, Brother Gita, Sister Jadusha, Sister Chanel, Sister Esther, Sister Natasha, Sister, a lot of sisters, y'all, a lot of sisters. Sister Maxine, Sister Fatou, and wow, and brother Anthony, and excuse me, I'm kind of looking through the phone and so forth. Whoever I have not shouted out, y'all, feel no way, because you're all acknowledged, because you're my brothers, you're my soul. My soul brothers and sisters. And I'm using soul, man. We got to deal with soul, yo, because that's whom and what you is. So those of you who have tuned in now, or tuned in kind of more at 8 o'clock, you may have heard me speaking with the previous presenter on a topic that got a little bit like, it evoked more, fervor from into the topic, because there's a lot of limitations, a lot of limited perspective people have when we even talk about spiritual awakening and spiritual knowledge, and all of the dogma and the doctrines that we have been conditioned with, that still seems to be there in the subconscious, in the deep unconscious of the subconscious, holding on to limited ideologies, you see, that limit your comprehension of your own self. So, you may have heard, some folks have this belief, well, none of us can directly connect to God. You see, all of them type of talk, you speak to a brother like me and drop that type of stuff. I'm like, no, man, that's a conditioned mind, and you're not conditioning mind. Because a lot of us, when we're talking about the generation of my own, who we come after those before us who still kind of locked into certain ideas, limited ideas. Some of them have grown past that and enabled their light within them to expand. But, a lot of them they still locked in us. They can't look through and question their own belief system that they're holding on to. That's actually limiting them within their own expansion that they believe they're in, or gaining. We get caught up in books that are there to assist you to gain a deeper understanding to yourself and your relationship to the source, by whatever name you want to call it. But you don't get limited and confined between those pages of those books. You see what I'm saying? I know, even, I'm going to bring His Majesty. Some folk, His Majesty who? Yes, His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, for why the term Rastafari is known throughout the globe, throughout the planet, you know what I'm saying? By various diversity of people, that is a sign in itself to show you that whatever comes through an individual that comes from the source goes to the whole world. But what comes from an individual through their own personal self-image, ego identity, just stays within the local, corner, off the room. You see, it doesn't go to the whole world. You know, so why I mentioned this is that he made a statement and made it clear that spirituality and religion is not the same. Okay? Spirituality is basically a bunch of rules, regulations, you know, and conducts that were to assist people towards maturing to know their spiritual selves. But it was an assistance. Yeah, it wasn't spirituality. So religion is, and with a lot of these indoctrination, these books, you know, these scriptures, it was an assistance, and it is still an assistance if you're interpreting what the insight within the scriptures are really saying, and where it's, and the direction it's really pointing to, you know, which should be into you. You see, then yes, that those things can assist you, but it's not for you to stay there, because with those type of things, you see, humans made all of that. When we talk about humans, we're talking about, you know, this belief that came about when you become this idea of a human, when you believe that you are separate from the source of all that is, the source of your own being, you know. And the reason why you would say father or mother is because the nature of the source is paternal and maternal in the way the consciousness intelligence operates throughout the whole of existence. You see? So, but it's not like a person. We kind of get caught up with this idea of father, mother. It's like we're dealing with personalities. But when we're talking about the source of all existence, you've gone beyond that. We're not dealing with confined, conditioned consciousness. We're dealing with the boundless consciousness intelligence itself of life, you see. So what Selassie ended up saying was that spirituality, on the other hand, yeah, you know, is what begins with you, your temple, and is the direct connection between you, the universe, and others. You see, that's what spirituality is. So it's not about getting caught up in dogmas, you see, because what happens, you know, limited concepts are created by science, dogmas, and creeds, etc., because they deal with phenomena, forms, and expressions, and not with the real. You see, what we need to do, we must, you know, see beyond form, hence, yeah, form into reality. Yeah, we must free, you know, we must be free of fixed ideas and concepts. You see what I'm saying? You know, to receive that which is truth. But you see, if you don't want to get free beyond these fixed ideas and concepts, what you're going to mistake for truth is just another dogma, is another phenomena, is another scientific, you know, ideology. You see what I'm saying? And this is how it's so easy to get trapped into that if you're still holding on to this limited belief about, you know, what God is or what God's not, and your relationship to God. All of these are separative thinking. You know, it's separativeness. You see? And yeah, I'm going to go into what is spirit. Therefore, what is spiritual awakening? What is spiritual awakening? So, you know, right now there's a whole heap of stuff going on, and you hear in this term more and more as years go by and as decades pass. Oh, spiritual awakening. We're in this grand spiritual awakening. Well, I have spoken on my show previously numerous times about the cycle and the time that we are in now. The time we are in now is called a stellar activation cycle. We're talking about a completion of a 26,000 year cycles, but we got cycles within cycles, larger cycles and smaller cycles, all synchronizingly, simultaneously unfolding. Okay, but this particular cycle we're in is called the stellar activation cycle, and it's called a grand awakening because it's on a mass level. Okay, whereas before it was groups, individuals, and so forth, you know, that would come to a realization within themselves, actually enter into an awakening, and then they start to try to enlighten a group that they are allocated or assigned to. You see, and they don't always succeed to wake up the group, because a lot of folk still didn't get the message, after they gone, after that one who came to be a light, to the world, to the group, starting from the group that they were born into, their works still kind of get bypassed and maybe realized by the following generation, who do pick up the insight that the generation they came into, the messengers came into, that generation didn't get it. Not all of them. There was those, you see, so it was kind of like individuals and little small, fractions getting the actual truth, igniting from within them, you see. But then you still got the majority that just still sleeping, you see. So how I'm going to go into this now is like, what is spiritual awakening? So I'm going to start to break down, okay, so what does the word awakening mean? Because obviously the word itself refers to something being asleep. Yeah? Otherwise, why would you need to awaken if you was not asleep? So we'll approach it from this perspective. Firstly, that there is a sleep and you're waking up from it. Now, some people will go, yeah, but the word wake means dead, because, you go to a wake or a 9 nights when somebody passes on. But the word awake doesn't mean dead. Okay? You see, the word to awaken or waken, is synonymous with rouse, arouse, bring to, to bring around. You see what I'm saying? You can also say that awaken, is synonymous with, to evoke, to call up, to conjure up, okay? To rouse or stir, or to revive, or to refresh or renew, or to resuscitate, yeah? To revivify, rekindle, reignite, rejuvenate, stimulate. These are synonymous with this term awake. Now, when you go into the roots of this word, which is German, you find that the word is associated with the meaning to watch, or a watch, to have visual. So now, why this awake is related to what would call the dead is that people would do a vigil over whom has made the transition. And in ancient time, in old times, people weren't just immediately buried or cremated when it was suspected that, I think they've gone, they're not getting up, they're not waking up, yeah? There was a vigil for a time, just in case the person wasn't dead, because that was known to happen. Sometimes people go into a coma and they're not dead. And then they come out of the coma a few days later and, they're in this coffin, in the sitting room, everybody around, and all of a sudden this person who you thought was dead rises up and go, hey, what's going on here? And everybody freaks out. Wah! Because they're thinking the dude was dead or the woman was dead, the person was dead, when actually, people can be in a coma and appear to be that they're dead, but they're not. And even the word dead is a bit of a lead statement, because there's no such a thing as death, because you're making a transition. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just giving this clarification to say, well, look, where the word awake and how it's properly associated, or how you properly perceive this word. Yes, it's related to the dead, but it doesn't mean the dead. It's about being the vigil over who is presumed dead or deceased, to be sure that that's what's going on, because it had been known before that people can appear to be, that's it. All the lights are gone, when actually the light just switched back on again, and it wasn't their time yet. They decided, no, I'm not ready to go yet. You see? So this is what awake actually links to. You got to look into different language, different dialects to kind of see the root. Because some folk just get stuck on one aspect of one page and say, oh, you mean awake? You mean it's dead? And it's like you're gone to awake. That's why in the morning you awake, and morning is related to mourning over who's passed over. You see what I'm saying? So the words and the language is how spells are being cast, and a lot of misconstrued and misconceptions and misunderstanding has been carried over through this, losing the root meaning behind the intention certain words were used for. So awake. So awake is about to be a vigil, to watch, It's like, so when we now deal with, you got a mourner at awake, as I just said. That's why they say mourning. But let's get into this thing about awake. So what's spiritual awakening? So it means who is a vigil, who is watching, therefore who's the observer, witness, yeah, rather than who's asleep and unconscious of observing anything, yeah. Now here's the thing. We take it on another level. When you hear the term awake, it gives you the idea that you must have been sleeping, just like we were, you're sleeping and then now you're not sleeping and oh, I'm awake now. Okay, so spiritual awakening, what does this mean? It would then refer to the fact that we are coming out of a long sleep. Now, the word hypnosis. The word hypnos, actually, you look that up. That means sleep, and osis is a suffix on the word which pertains to the condition. Okay, so if you got an osis or ptosis, it's a condition. Halitosis, stinky breath, or psychosis, a condition of the mind. You see what I'm saying? So hypnosis is a condition of sleep, okay? And in certain ancient texts, it talks about how there was how people were put in a hypnotic spell, okay? Where a spell is what you use to cast, and then if it's hypnotic, you're casting something, you're casting a sleep. You're putting people into a sleep. And then if you go into the scripture, there's a part where it talks about Adam being put into a deep sleep, and God put Adam into a deep sleep, yeah, so he can pop out a rib and make Eve, yeah. Now all of this is allegory, okay, but I'm using it as a reference to make you see that sleep is something that is opposite to awake, okay. Now while you're sleeping, you're dreaming, okay? Some people can have dreamless dreams, okay? You're not really dreaming anything. You're just like floating in the void. Or you don't recall whatever was dreamt, okay? Now when you come back into the waking state, you see? So when we're talking about spiritual awakening, this grand awakening, it is referring to the time where masses of people, or I would say masses of souls, are going to be arising or rousing up, becoming aroused, rousing out of their slumber, and to become consciously aware of themselves. Now, when you're asleep, who is the dreamer? When you're sleeping, you're dreaming, but who's the dreamer? This is what I meant to say. When you're asleep, you're dreaming. But who's the dreamer? Because the dreamer is the one who's having the dream. Now, while you're dreaming, usually people identify themselves with the dream and are not aware that it's a dream. They're not the dream. They are the one who's dreaming the dream. You see what I mean? So this dreaming of the dream is what we are waking up out of. Now, you could be dreaming a dream and it could be a nightmare. Okay? You could be dreaming a dream and it could be, wow, what an amazing dream. You wake up all exhilarated like, what? But still, that wasn't you. It still was a dream. So what is a dream? A dream is a projection of the consciousness of the dreamer, not being aware of themselves as the dreamer of the dream, but actually believing that their identity is the dream or what is being dreamt. So if you're having a nightmare and you're identifying with whatever you believe you are in this nightmare, well, my gosh, you want to wake up, wouldn't you? I mean, wouldn't it, look at the relief when people are having nightmares and they wake up and they're like, oh gosh, and realize, oh my gosh, it was a dream, and how pleased they are that it was a dream and that who they are was not whom they were identifying with in the dream. You see, the relief, the realization of you, not the dream identity, but the authentic identity of the dreamer. You see, so the dreamer is creating a kind of scene, a kind of pseudo reality within the sleep, within the slumber, right? And what is happening is that a lot of people have taken the dream as themselves, as reality, you see? So some folk would be what you're seeing now, what you're seeing taking place now all over the place. And it's like a fire kindling this and that. So it's building, and a fire is there to burn and purify. When we're dealing with spiritual fire, it's there to purify and burn away everything that is not of its own self, everything that is not authentic and real to what the spiritual fire of life is, would have to be burnt away. So that would be the illusions. So only reality is left standing. You see? So this spiritual awakening, y'all, deep, and we need to really get in it because it's becoming also publicized in a way of commercialized and, getting really, in a way, a lot of distortions going on with that. Because you have some people thinking they're awake, but really what's happening, you got to also look at it in this way as well. When you are referring to an awakening, as I said already, there would have to be a dreamer. Yeah, someone sleeping and waking up out of a dream. They've awakened, they've aroused, they've been called forth. Yeah, I gave you all the different synonyms related to this work, this word awake, and how it makes, it also relates to being visual, being the observer, okay? Being who is watching. Not who's caught up in what's being watched, but who is independent of what's being watched and is aware that they are the witness of what they're observing. Okay? So this is very important, I feel, to discuss this evening because a lot of things is happening. I mean, we've just come out of this lunar eclipse that was in Leo, 0 degrees Leo, and Saturn. So you're dealing with the sun was in 0 degrees Aquarius. So we're now in Aquarius, y'all. People whose solar return is now and coming up. You're stepping into the Aquarius. And you had the moon, which was opposite the sun and at 0 degrees Leo. Now, I bring astro weather into my discussions now because I feel it's very pertinent. And there's other aspects to the picture when you're dealing with a lunar eclipse. It's not just dealing with the sun and the moon. You're dealing with the aspects that, for example, Venus and Jupiter in Sagittarius is trining the Mars, in Aries, and the moon is also trining in Leo is also trining Mars in Aries. So that's a harmonious energy communication with these planets. So that's contributing to the energy, the overall energy too. You see, and then you got Uranus, we're talking about liberation and freedom, but also trauma. Yeah, that's in Aries, and it's squaring. That's squaring. Gosh, can't even recall. I think it's squaring the sun, and that's a challenge because there's a change going on about how you are perceiving yourself. Your sense of self-identity. Things are changing, and you're not you're not the same of who you thought you were or how you perceived yourself before. So there's changes, deep inner changes basically taking place. And so this energy, the lunar eclipse that we just had on the 21st, that energy is continuing for another 10 to 16 days. So that's building up. So so people are, you're going to be feeling things, you're energetically understanding how a lot of this is playing out within our own individual lives and how it's playing out collectively. You see what I'm saying? On a bigger scale. So previously on my show, when we had the solar eclipse in Capricorn with the moon conjuncting the sun in Capricorn, conjuncting Saturn in Capricorn, and the sun of conjuncting Pluto in Capricorn, a lot of Capricornian energy, I was saying there's a lot of things where the structure is going to be rearranged. There's a change in the way things have been structured and operating, for a long time, and now things are breaking down. And I said that Saturn represents the government as well. It represents authority, represents law. You see what I'm saying? But you've got a outer version of that, and you got the inner version of that. The outer version is being expressed in where you're seeing, well, governments being partially shut down, you know what I mean, in the States. You've got people revolting against the governments in their own countries where they just can't. They're thinking, nah, man, this structure, this thing has to change. So you're seeing how the energies planetarily are kind of initiating. Everything seems to be happening at the right time, as the energies align to support these transformations. But it's going through stages, and it's going through, it's touching one bit, and then it's now moving to another bit, and then it's now dealing with another part of it. And you see how all of these energies are activating and supporting the overall transformation that needs to take place. So this transformation is also taking place within our own selves. And those who know that, for example, astrology is a real deal thing, because when you talk about the macrocosm, you're talking about the broader, grander universe external to you. And when you're talking about the microcosm, you're talking about the subatomic realm, which is you. So you're talking about the universe taking place within you, and you're looking out and seeing the reflection of all of that outside around you. So the truth of that, so the truth of the situation is that you can feel the changes, or you can feel the activity taking place in yourself. And if you can understand how these energies are operating within you, you can manage your own individual transformation taking place, your own awakening, spiritual awakening. Now, back to the awakening aspect. No, before I go back into that, I was saying that the moon was in Leo, and we had the sun in Aquarius. Now, the thing with what, just looking at the positions of those two energies, you're talking about the sun representing the soul. You're talking about the moon representing the subconscious and our inner emotions and the sense of security. Okay, and how we are nourishing, whether our feelings are being nourished with love or fear, if I simplify it that way. And when you're dealing with Leo, you're dealing with the heart, okay, the will of the soul. But at the same time, you got a duality going on there, because Leo can be about just the personal self-image, okay? And this is where you get this ego, this construct that has been mainly identified with, we've been conditioned to identify with this personal self-image, which where so much of your fears and insecurities and so much of the problems come from when we're dealing with this false self that was generated, developed, or when we're talking about from childhood, things that got yeah, that sense of personal self-image and emotional identity was developed through early childhood, where we received, early emotional imprints, and how we were perceiving ourselves through the various experiences we were going through as a young child. And that's diverse too, because, everybody's not having the same upbringing or same childhood experiences, but we are having our ego, our personal self-image molded at those early stages, at the early age. So what's happening with the moon in Leo is that Leo also being the core, going into the soul now, yeah, beyond the ego, the personal self-image. It's about what is nourishing. Am I feeling lit? How am I feeling lit up from within? What is really lighting me up from within, rather than what I'm depending from the outside to provide for the personal self-image to feel secure, okay? And how these things are kind of no longer how could you say, hitting the spot, you know what I mean? So there's this need for deeper connection with the light within yourself, the light of the will of the soul, you see what I mean? Rather than the superficial personal self-image that a lot of us are trying to defend. And this is where this is where your fear comes from, and the insecurities, and fear breeds vile action. People will attack others out of the fear. This is where, in a way, fear is what evil is, because when we say vile and violence, if you look at that word vile, it spells evil. Okay, and evil comes, and violence comes out of the fear that makes you want to attack and kill something, or do some harm to it, or protect and defend yourself from what you feel a sense of fear from, in order for you to feel this, in order for you to then say, oh, I'm safe. You have to either get rid of this thing that you feel is a threat, or you have to put up some defense to it in order to feel that you're protected from it. But you see, this is also where you get the separation. The whole ideology of separation, and you're not feeling connected. Now, when the connection is where we deal with love, you see what I'm saying? But even that's being distorted in the personal ego identification that we've been conditioned with. Let me read something here that gives you more of an understanding of what I'm saying. About this false self. Your job is to stop thinking. You see all of this thinking as well. This is all caught up. People are caught up in thinking, and Lord of mercy. You know what I mean? Trying to stop the chatter, the monkey mind, as they would say. This is coming from that personal self-image, the counterfeit identity of ourselves that never feels secure, and also that the thinking creates a lot of turbulence in your feeling, in your emotional fields. And that begins to feed the unpleasantness people feel inside, based upon the thinking and the constant thinking, okay? So your job is to stop thinking if you want to have a job, yeah? To remove the thoughts, because the thoughts become your master now. When you just there thinking, now these thoughts are ruling you, rather than thoughts have no realizing that thoughts have no power in themselves unless you give them attention. You see, so the thoughts with this overthinking becomes the master of you, that make you feel sad or happy. So you know what I mean? So the thoughts now become the determiner of whether you're feeling happy or sad. Okay, when thoughts in themselves have no power without you giving them power. Okay, however, we identify with thoughts, we identify with feelings, and most of these thoughts and feelings are the rampant thinking of the ego personality, the personal self-image that we have been conditioned to identify with and believe that is us. Okay, so it's not who you are. Okay, so what happens? So it goes, why do you feel the way you feel? Because those thoughts, since you were a little child, have been impressed by the world conditioning, you see, by your parents, by your school, by your church. They have convinced you and programmed you to believe this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Only when you have this, you are successful or whatever, you know. And if you don't have certain things, you are a failure. You know, this is how people assess themselves based upon this counterfeit identity of this personal self-image. Oh my man, I've just been graced in the in the studio this evening with Brother Jammers. How you doing, my brother? So yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna bring you into this in a minute. Gonna just continue what I was saying. So you see how this false image comes in, and what we then feel we have to what you call defend. Yeah. So if you don't have all these things, we feel we're a failure. You know, the things I was just saying before. You know, if you don't have this and that, you know, to be successful. You know, if you don't have certain things, you are a failure. And it's these thoughts that tell you these things. These thoughts. That's all they are, because you're believing in this conditioning. So if you're listening to these thoughts, then you begin to it now begins to dictate to you. You know, how you feel. And whether you are valuable or not, successful or not, and all of this type of stuff. Okay? So what happens, again, if there are no thoughts, there is none left to tell you anything. All right? So this is called liberation. Okay? It's also known as moksha in, can't remember which language that is, but it's also freedom. Now, I was just talking about the moon in Leo. But then we got the sun in Aquarius, okay, with this lunar eclipse. Now, Aquarius is about freedom, revolution, liberation. You see what I'm saying? Freedom and liberty. But it's freedom and liberty of the soul from the force emotions, the moon, yeah, that we're identifying with, thoughts and feelings, conditioned mind, force, this personal self-image that we're attached to, and it's to liberate ourselves from this illusion so we can what? Wake up to the reality of who we is, right? Who you are. So it goes, you begin, so how you free yourself now, how you free yourself from all of these overthinking and rampant thoughts of the world conditioning is you can do this in the now. Everything, you know, is about the now. Okay. So you begin to free yourself. You begin with yourself. Okay. So you question yourself. Yeah. You inquire, who am I? Yeah. You sit in silence. You know, if thoughts come, you inquire, to whom do they come? Okay. You would also ask, and then you become still. Okay. You know, at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you how to do an I am meditation, but I'll do that later. But I'm just giving a kind of rough view on when we're talking about the astro weather, okay, and how this is correlating into the energies personally going on for individually for one's now, where your soul is seeking liberation from these illusions, okay, this false self-image. You know, that's the sun in Aquarius. And then the moon in Leo is about your emotional, subconscious, feeling nature, where you feel secure or not secure, okay? And now it's telling you, you need to go and find that in the deeper inner core of your heart, where you connect with your soul, because the soul is who you truly is. Now, Leo can be egotistical, yeah? And it also can be the grand, radiant light of the soul. Yeah, it's where we creatively self-articulate, actualize ourselves. Okay, and it's about love, the warmth of the sun. You know, so Leo on the soul level is the light of the soul. Yeah, that we all have Leo inside of our chart, and the sun rules Leo esoterically and exoterically. So wherever the sun is in your chart as the sun sign, that's your soul, okay? Whereas the moon would represent your counterfeit ego, because the counterfeit ego is always changing, just like the phases of the moon, you see? Whereas the sun is consistently shining, it is consistently filled with light and continually shining. So the sun always symbolizes the soul, and hence you got soul, solar. I've gone into all of that in previous shows already. Yeah, but we're not talking about the light in you that's like the suns and the stars in the sky. We're talking about the light, which is your soul, which is more powerful than any sun. It's the sun. It's the light in you that was emerged from the consciousness of the absolute source, creator, before the creation of the universe. Okay, before the projection of the universe as a projection of the absolute consciousness came into existence, we as souls, as direct thought impressions, if you want to put it that way, direct ideas, okay, from the absolute, we were these sparks of light which are begotten in the same likeness and image or nature, you see, of the absolute. Okay, some people use God, we use the term and so forth, but I like to expand the nature of what God is. You know what I mean? Yes, you can still use it, but as you heard earlier in the discussion, and who, you know, previously before my show began, and what I was saying with Saad, who was the previous presenter this evening before my show, where certain conversation, where the topic went, you see, and you got a lot of people that hold on to a limited view, very dogmatic still, even though they think they're liberating. And this is no disrespect to anyone. This is just saying this is what's going down. If you're looking to know yourself, you're gonna need to know the true nature of the Creator, because I and my Father are one. You see, so it's about knowing. It's about expanding your comprehension of the nature of the Creator, the creative source. You hear me? And that is so essential, because when we're talking about this spiritual awakening, a lot of people are still holding on deep in the unconscious of the subconscious, these limiting, separative, dogmatic beliefs, and fearful tenets in them that prevents them from realizing their real self. Now, this is very highly complex and simple at the same time, you know, because there's things, you know, I've written here my old stuff for, you know, decades, you know, I want to share with you. And before I open up the lines, I'm going to make Jammers come into this as well. But before I open up the lines to go deeper into this, what is spiritual awakening? Because you can see that a lot of people are awakening, but what are they awakening to? Because there's a lot of shifts in energy, which doesn't necessarily mean you are having a spiritual awakening. There is shifts in consciousness taking place all the time. Okay. But when we're going to talk about, you know, you may have a shifting consciousness where you've been hanging around people who, you know, who gossip a lot, okay? Who are always running down people, or, you know, they're always kind of negative and pessimistic about certain people or certain things. And you used to hang around with that, and you was okay with it. And then you get a shift take place in an energetic shift take place within you. That you one day you begin to not feel good doing that anymore. You don't feel good in involving yourself or contributing to the gossip. And you begin to kind of feel you need to step away from it. And now that's a shift taking place in you. But that's not an awakening. It's just more of a consciousness, shifting consciousness that's making you more kind of, because you're shifting in energy, you now are changing frequency, a wavelength. And you're no longer resonating with the wavelength you were on before that you used to be a part of. You never felt the uncomfortableness of it. You never felt the rashness of it, you know, the harshness of it is what I'm saying. And then now you're getting a kind of shift in your consciousness. Your frequency is changing, and you now don't feel you resonate with such activity. So people are having shifts in all different type of ways, and that is good. You're moving yourself, you know, away from lesser frequency vibrations you were on to more higher frequencies, so you can eventually experience an awakening. But then here's this. As I was saying, if you're having an awakening, it means that something was sleeping. And when you're sleeping, you have dreams via sleeping. And while you're sleeping, many of us identifies with the dream and are unaware of who's dreaming the dream. So a genuine and real spiritual awakening is where you're actually coming to this, you're waking up to yourself. Okay? And if you're waking up to yourself, you're going to wake up to a total different idea of what you were previously believing while you were in the dream. Who you thought you were and all the limitations on that and so forth. And this is what a real spiritual awakening is, because it's about waking up to your authentic self. You become to realize that you are the dreamer having a dream. Yeah? And in you're the one having the dream, you're not actually under the what you call it, you're not under the influence of the dream that you thought you were before. You see, you now realize that as the dreamer, you have control. When I say control, you're not even controlled by the nature of the dream. Now, some people, because they're having consciousness, shifts in consciousness, they're actually waking up to a nightmare. You get people talking about, oh, the truth is being revealed. The truth ain't being revealed until you wake up to yourself. What's being revealed is all the deceptions you were believing were true. Now all of that, the holes are popping through that, and now it's all being exposed. For you now to realize the lies, the deception you were taking and believing in as truth. Okay? And now all of it's tearing down. It's like the wax is melting. You see what I'm saying? And all of the, some people would think this is awakening, but a lot of people are waking up to a nightmare because they were believing in all of those deceptions. They really was holding on to it. And now it's like, I can't believe it. No, Lord, no. Because they're believing in all of this deception. Thank you.
Very well. Very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? But that's what's happening. People are really getting flipped out, freaked out, because what they were believing in and putting so much trust in, through their ignorance, they're now realizing, oh my gosh, it was all a lie. It was all deception. You see? And that is what's being unveiled. That's what's being exposed now. Okay? But that's not the awakening I'm talking about. I'm talking about, firstly, when you talk about spiritual, a lot of people think they have to become more spiritual. Oh, I got to do all this work on myself to make myself more spiritual. I got to dress up in some spiritual costume and suit, whatever that is. You know what I mean? Oh, it's because I'm doing this is why I'm spiritual. And they're missing the point. Why it's called spiritual awakening is because you are spirit. You're not what you were dreaming while you were asleep, believing yourself to be a person, to be this physical body, which believes that it's separate from everything else. You see, that's when you're identifying with the vessel. You're looking at separation. But you see, the spirit is what you is. Energetically, you're connected to all life. But on the vessel level, you have this illusion of being separate from source of all life. So spiritual awakening is about the waking up to who you essentially is. And that it's not about, oh, I was separate from God and now I have to try to get closer to God. No, you're waking up from the illusion of your separation to realize the unity with the source of all life that you've always had. You see? Now I'm just gonna say one more little thing here, because I think it's very important to clarify something, and then I'm gonna bring my brother Jammers in, and so we can go add some more add some different ingredients in this cake and see what else we can where we can go with this topic tonight, because a lot of stuff is going on, man. You'd have to be very numb not to realize the big impacts. I think I got a caller coming in here. Okay, 1 second. What's the caller? You there?
Hi, Brother Siayome. This is Brother Gita.
Gita, speak again for me there.
Sorry?
Oh, okay. I was just checking out the volume to make sure that I had the right volume the right slide up. Yes, Gita, beautiful to hear from you, brother.
Yes, bro. I don't know if I was called in at the appropriate or inappropriate time, because I couldn't hear the show on the.
Okay,
my
somehow I'm not
phone.
hearing you clear. If you could speak
Oh,
maybe into the mic more
yeah.
directly, because
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I hear
I've
you.
got, I've got the phone about 1 inch from my mouth. So
There's
hopefully.
something interfering with the sound there, Gita. It's like you're on hands free or something.
Wait a minute. Let me turn off my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Okay.
All right. So I've not been able to keep up much abreast with the in the proceedings, but I've got a little bit here and there, so I'll try and
Okay,
keep it.
because I'm flowing like a river at the moment. That's how it goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
but yes, where you
How
like
do you
to
want to
continue?
go from here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I understand it, the theme is
Yes.
about
What is spiritual awakening? Yes.
what is spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
a very, very interesting topic.
Okay.
One of my favorite topics, actually.
Okay.
Anything to do with with the outer states of consciousness, the dream time. That's where I feel very comfortable because basically I'm a dreamer by nature. So
Okay. Okay. Yes, and we can work with our dreams and we can get lost in them and the nature of that.
yeah.
But yes, my brother, go forward.
Okay, so I'll just share what is on my mind and let let's see what unfolds from there. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this the dream time.
Okay.
The dream time is actually where we find the perfected or the heroic uh, um, self or heroic probability. That self, that God self, if you will, of that God self who is now experiencing itself as a human
Okay. Yes. Go
in
on.
order to experience not being God, of course, so that it can actually experience. In other words, the whole can only experience itself through its path. Yeah,
Okay,
and
one
that is
second.
who we.
One second. Everything you're saying, I'm getting you. We're talking about, the creator falling asleep but dreaming itself as a human, right? And
Yeah.
but it's also, I want to hear you more clearly. I don't know why
Mm,
the crispness of your voice. I don't, the clarity of what you're saying, the words. I want to be heard so we all can fully
yeah,
follow
I
what you're
can hear you.
saying. But it's
I
something to
can
do
hear you
with.
clearly. Yeah, I'm also hearing that feedback. Yeah, but funny, I can hear on my side. I hear what you're saying, but I can hear you clearly. So I don't know what the problem is or how to.
Is
There's
it?
some kind of
Do you have the?
undercurrent
So
going on in the background.
yeah, do you have the radio on? Because there's nothing going on in the background here. But do you have the radio on in where you are at the moment?
No, no.
No.
I'm in front of my computer and it's not connected to. There's nothing happening on there.
Okay, it's just that
Yeah, it's
the
the same.
voice sounds a little like there's interference in the
Okay, let me call back. Let me call back maybe in 10 minutes or so and see if there's
Okay,
any
yeah. All
improvement.
right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Okay. We'll try that. All right.
Right.
Thank you, Gita. Yes, Gita will be back with us in a moment. Just trying to see if we can get a better connection. Inside the studio with me tonight, I have brother Jammers. Jammers, can you mention and say, hey, yo, bring yourself in here a bit.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. I'm
Yeah,
sure the
well,
people can hear you.
it's a pleasure to pass through here, and I'm glad as a last minute surprise that you didn't kick me out the studio.
Brother, it was a pleasant surprise.
We've
You
been
know.
meaning to meet up for quite a while because I know you've been doing an undying service to the community.
Thank you, bro.
That largely goes unrecognised through the study and the research, your intellectual thought process, and your unwavering commitment to the cause, So that's why I've come here to give you Conscious Speaker of the Year awards.
Oh, really?
Live on your show.
Oh, you for
You
real?
know,
dude?
yeah, for real.
Oh,
So
man.
this is a long, outstanding award that you thoroughly deserve. So on behalf of the community,
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Conscious Speaker of the Year awards goes to you.
Hey, yo, people, you hearing this? I mean, I didn't
Live.
expect this. Wow, with Brother Siayome written on it, dude. Speakers
Yeah.
Club Award, Conscious Speaker. That, wow, man. Well, thank you very
Live
much.
on Bless. That's alive.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, could you have yeah, I think we need the camera on.
All right,
for this
then.
one.
Yeah, you can do that if
Yeah,
you would like.
definitely.
Hey, check this out, people. Yeah, now you're going to deal with the camera now. You're going to see me, yo, peeps. All right. Wow, Jammers, thank you very much. I had no idea this
It's a
was
long
going to be.
outstanding, yo. You thoroughly deserve this award. 'Cause I don't know no one else who's putting it down like you, and you've been doing it for years. Other people are talking
Decades, man.
what you've laid down in the foundation, you know. So it's long awaited, you know. Really, this award is well deserved. I don't know no other brother who deserves this award more than you.
Wow, man. Well, that is very, you know, I very appreciate it. Thank you, Brad.
It's all good,
You know,
man. It's all good. It's all good.
pleasant. You know, when you get pleasant surprises, and oh my gosh, I got some dessert too, man. Roman Rios and ice cream, you know. So Roman Rios and ice cream, yo. I have no other words to say but thank you. You know, it is how can I say? Well, thank you. You know what I'm saying?
No, you already done the talk already. Talking done, you know.
Well. All right. I wonder if I can continue with my flow.
Yeah,
I think
we're
we're gone.
Your flow now,
You know what I
man.
mean? Because I was looking for some notes. Some of my look. You can see how this paper. You look out. You see how old this book is.
You see that? That's how long.
Yeah,
you've been
this is how
researching,
old. Yeah, man. This is how old I've been. Long I've been into this, because this is what my brothers and sisters. You know, when I was growing up, we would hear the term soul brothers and sisters. Yeah, that we were people of the sun. And now we run around kind of not even focusing on ourselves as souls, but as, you know, things less than that. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we are the light that shineth in the darkness, and the darkness is this corporeal form called matter. And we've been caught up in the dream time, as Brother Gita was talking about, like when the Creator aspects the spark of the light of Source, creates this vessel, this house for itself to experience itself. It kind of falls into a sleep, you know, falls into this sleep, and now we're dreaming. It's the Source itself is dreaming itself as being man, being less than what it is, but it cannot be do that. So there has to be an illusion set up in order to facilitate such an experience, you see. And we are talking about spiritual awakening and what it is. A lot of people, you know, if I put it more simply, it's God waking up to himself. Yeah, this is what it is in this spirit, in this time of spiritual awakening. It is the Source. It is the Supreme Being waking up to itself out of the dream of dreaming, and it was man, dreaming of these limitations that it itself is not. It itself it does not identify with. But when you're in this dream of believing you are human, then this identifying with the dream and not realizing the dreamer who's having the dream, we then begin to create this false identity of ourselves being separate from the very source of our life. Yeah. And when you're in the separation consciousness, this is where fear comes in. Fear is the separation that breeds the evil, the vile, all the hostility, all of the distortions that then get projected from the dream, from the illusion, yeah, to outside. And you think the outside is the cause, when when actually the cause is in your mind. And then we begin to believe we're the effects and outside's the cause. You see what's happened? That's what happens when we get caught up in the illusion of dreaming that we are separate from our source. Now, the soul is the source within you. And there are a lot of people who will disagree with that while they read whatever books that they feel is the authority of their soul, of what they call God. And none of them things are. They cannot ever be the authority of you. And this spiritual awakening, why it's called a grand awakening, and this solar activation cycle we're in now, it's waking up to yourself. Look, I got a caller coming in. This must be Gita again. So I'm going to stick a pin in just what I just said there. I think Gita's going to elaborate more on this too, about dream time. Brother Gita, are you there?
Yes, brother. I'm
Oh,
here.
brilliant. This is a lot more clearer. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes, I was just previously saying about, you know,
Yes, I'm here, bro.
you was hearing what I was saying?
Hold on, let me just get I've got 2 sets of headphones.
We
Let
got
me just a second. Yeah, I'm tangled myself.
okay.
All right, okay, I'm good now. Yes.
Yeah. Briefly, what I was hearing, what you were saying when you just now called in, you was talking about the dream time and about when Source is dreaming itself as a human, and you know, and what I was feeling, you know, some of what I was just saying just now was relating to some of what you were saying, but we're going to talk of the same thing in a different way. We got our own different view about the same thing. So I would like you to give you the forum right now to share your view on this. Okay.
All right, I'll give you the context and perspective for which subsequently we're going to say should be able to slot in.
Okay.
If you Okay, let's try to understand what our situation.
Gita?
Are you still hearing me?
Yes, I'm still hearing you, but it's
Yeah,
just try and be as clear as you can. Maybe not so close into the microphone or something. I don't know what it is, but usually I've heard you before on the show, and you're clear. And there just seems to be maybe something in the atmosphere, energies, interference with the frequencies.
Maybe if I move into my sacred space,
Okay, yeah, man, go into the sacred space, bro. All right.
At the moment, I'm outside in my
Okay.
I've got very little.
While he's doing that, can you just hold up your award for the Facebook Live crew that's just tuning in live from the Speakers Club crew?
Okay, yeah, Gita, while you're doing that, I mean, during the break, man, I was awarded with Conscious Speaker of the Year award by Brother Jamis here.
This camera.
Oh, this one. Oh, here it is, yo. Yeah, I thank the community very much. That's very surprising and very a pleasant surprise. You know what I'm saying? So yes, thank you, one and all. You know, thank you very much.
Well, you actually deserve it. So.
Now, yes, you now, please. You ready?
Yes. I'm in my sacred space.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully you can hear me clearly.
Okay, I'm hearing you clearer. I'm hearing you clearer.
Yeah, let's try to see what our current status is.
Okay.
I'm still hearing that noise in the back. I don't know if you're still hearing it.
Well, I can hear you. We can hear you. I mean,
Okay.
you can hear me. I can hear you. I just carry on talking so we can see if it clears up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think most of us who are on a spiritual path, who are on a conscious journey, can identify with the fact that, you know, we're entering into a new paradigm now.
Yes. Yes.
So if we enter into a new paradigm, the question is, what was the old paradigm?
Okay.
You know? So the old paradigm was a faith and belief-based paradigm.
Yes.
In other words,
yes. Yeah.
you know, all of our religions and all of our different systems was based more or less on sending your power outside of yourself
Yes.
to connect with some higher power
Outside
that
of you.
hopefully will has got your back, and will take care of you.
Separation, basically. Yeah, we was
Yeah.
believing in a separation from ourselves and our source, and looking outside of ourselves
Yeah,
for
yeah,
this
for
alleged
want of a
source.
better
Yes.
word.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was fine, everything is based according to time, place, and circumstance. In certain time, place, and circumstance, something may work very well or be appropriate, but in another time, place, and circumstance, that same thing will not be appropriate, and it will not get the result,
Right.
the desired result. So
Right.
I'm saying this to say that the paradigm we're in now is not a faith and belief paradigm, in the sense that, for example, if you ask somebody, do you believe you have a right arm? Yeah?
Uh huh.
The person will say, yeah, yes, I believe I have a right arm. You know?
Uh huh.
I believe I have a right arm. But the question is, do you actually believe you have a right arm, or do you know
No,
you
you
have a
got a
right
right
arm?
arm. Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now the question is, if you know you have a right arm, there's no room for belief.
Exactly.
Belief is only when you don't know or you're not
Exactly.
sure.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
see?
Uh huh.
So that the old paradigm was a faith and belief based paradigm, because we were not allowed, or we were not encouraged to seek the knowing of
Exactly.
ourselves, who we actually are.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that, we can go into the whole conspiracy thing, and that
Yeah.
was the whole drama. We don't want to go there, right?
But exactly what you're saying is very clear. We're moving out
Yeah,
of this faith and belief
yeah,
paradigm
yeah.
into knowing. Hence the Aquarius I know. Okay. Yes, brother.
So I'm saying this to, lay the foundation for where I'm going to build,
Okay.
where the dream time comes in.
Okay. Yes.
See?
Yes.
Now, in the dream time, time is constricted by pattern. Yeah?
Yeah. Are you moving when you're speaking? Is the microphone moving?
No, I'm sitting but my phone is about 6 inches in front of my mouth. And
Okay.
I'm sitting down, I'm not moving, but I'm hearing some kind of feedback in the background. This is what
I
was
don't know, because there's no sounds in here. There's nothing really. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm hearing you. Carry on, my brother. Carry on, because we're picking up what you're saying, and we're following where you're going. Yeah.
Okay.
So anything that's not clear, we'll just get that
Yeah.
clarified, and we'll move on and continue. Yes. So.
So in the new paradigm we're in, and this is individually and collectively, our consciousness and our awareness is now aligning with the dream time. Yeah? The dream
Okay.
time is that time, you see, in all the ancient cultures, there was so much emphasis placed on the dream time, life after death, and all of these. Why is this so? Because this is the reality. This is actually the reality, because everything in the dream time is existing simultaneously. Every probable outcome for every choice you make, good,
Right.
bad, and ugly, is simultaneously existing, but on different frequency resonances. Yeah. So you make a decision, or you make a choice. Now, the outcome of that choice, all the probable outcomes for that particular choice, are simultaneously existing in the dream time. Right?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Now, which one you're going to experience in this time is depending on how you can become a frequency match of that probability in the dream time, yeah, and bring that same vibrant resonancy into this time. So basically, what is happening now in this new paradigm, as we raise our frequency, our consciousness, our awareness, whatever you want to call it, all we're doing is simply aligning or becoming a vibrational match with whatever outcome, probable outcome we desire, we experience in this reality. Because we cannot think of anything or point as an idea or concept in somebody's mind, i.e., in the dream time.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Before it came here.
Right.
Yeah?
Yes.
So
Yes.
similarly, that heroic self, that heroic probable self, that self that has already achieved the grandest version of the greatest vision we could ever behold as to be who we are.
Oh,
The same time. Now,
Go on. The greatest, grandest version that we ever could behold of ourselves is what we are aligning with to materialize. Yes. Okay, that's why we're here.
If
Okay.
there's another purpose, then it's good for it. But I can't think of a
Higher purpose than that. Okay, well,
purpose, yeah.
yeah, that's waking up to the supreme truth of yourself, basically. Yeah, the most high within you. Yeah, it can be another way of saying it. Yeah. Go ahead.
In fact, what we have not been able to, what we have not been encouraged to embody or think about or consider is that we are the supreme being.
You see what you're saying there. We are the supreme being. There are many folk who are dealing with spiritual, they would say spiritual awakening, and this is and there they don't want to go. They're still like, well, none of us can connect with God directly, and we're different from what God is. We're a creation, and God's the creator. And I'm like, but can't you see that you've got a misconception of what you are still holding on, you're believing about, and it's a misconception of your source and yourself. But they don't seem to want to question that. They just want to hold on to that old dogma. So I think what you're saying, you see, carry on. Yes.
Let me try to qualify this bit. About me, because whoever he thinks he is,
that's who he's going to be. Yeah. Yes. As a man thinketh, yes, that's who he is. Oh, good point. Good point.
The four statements of ultimate truth.
Yeah.
We'll still come back to those.
Okay.
We'll always come back to those at the end of the day.
Okay.
That is what brings everything into balance. Yeah?
Gita, I want you to really, I want to give you the space and you say all of this. At the same time, just want to be aware that I got another speaker in the room, and they were gonna, I'm not rushing you off. Don't take this, the wrong way. But just to have that in awareness. So you know what I mean. So still continue, and so we can, get all this juice out of this.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Because it could take a 3-day workshop.
Oh, tell me about it. And that's great. We don't have to give everything over the air straight up, but they're getting a lot at the same time. Go ahead, brother.
I will try to consolidate it within 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
So I'll do that by highlighting the main principles. As the saying goes, opinions can be many, principles are few.
Yes.
Opinions insane. Principles seldom do.
Exactly. Right? Yes.
So if we get the principle of everything, then we can understand everything. We can understand everything.
Yes, exactly. And that's the truth. The principle. I find folk don't connect with the principle. They just get caught up in the arguments. Like, I'm right, you're wrong, and oh well, that's not what our book says, or and it's like you're missing the whole point of all of that. Even though the books can assist you to grow, but you're missing the principle. And they're turning God, and a lot of people still seem to talk about the Creator from a personal viewpoint, like he's a person. And even in the scriptures, it says that God is a respecter of no person. But yet, people limit and don't realize that they're dealing with a principle here, a creative principle. Yeah. But they're still but they're approaching it like it's a person in their mind. And that we're not as good, we're underlings to the Creator because we're the creation. And how can be, and it's just, can't you, So the limitation that they're looking at it from is blocking them, making them still look at things as a separation. They're separate from their own source. But carry on, brother.
Now, you see, in the new paradigm, there's room for that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In the sense that, when we understand that we are who we say we are, our experience is what we say it is, you
Yes.
know, the meaning of everything is the meaning we give it, and nothing is real to begin with anyway because it's a drama.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, whatever anybody chooses to designate as this particular, identity, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever we say we are,
Is
right,
what you are.
is going to give us a certain perspective. And it's that perspective, based on that perspective, we're going to make choices,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And we are free to make any choice we want, but our
Okay.
choices have consequences.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah?
Yes.
Now, if the consequences are, happy, happy, so you're off into the sunset, namaste,
Uh-huh.
everything is fine.
Uh-huh.
But if the choices happen to be not favorable, unfavorable,
Uh-huh.
then what do we do? This
Go
is
on.
when, yeah, in the
Eh,
majority, for the most part, we come in with the old blame,
Okay, yes,
victim,
yes, yes.
judgment,
Yeah, you're
all of
blame
these things,
yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
everybody's responsible except for ourselves to
Uh-huh.
sabotage in the
Uh-huh.
first place,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
So
what you see
that
majority
is
going
the
on.
old paradigm because we're always looking outside of ourselves.
Right, yes.
Yeah?
The old
That's
parrot.
part of
Uh-huh.
the old paradigm,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Let's try to define and distinguish these two, paradigms clearly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will not move forward. We will not have, we won't move forward because we will not be in balance.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was listening to something the other day, and the question came up: if you were given, how was it phrased? What is it? If you were given the opportunity to have anything you want, there was no limitation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
anything you desire to have, you could have it. What
Yeah.
in this three worlds would you choose? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was very, very clear and very simple and very profound. Yeah,
Okay.
and the answer is simply this: balance.
What they
Once
just
you have
said?
balance,
Balance. Is that what they
yes,
said? Okay.
yes.
Yes,
Once
yes,
you have
yes.
balance, you have everything. Because at the end of the day, right, all of us are seeking to achieve some semblance of balance
True
in
thing.
whatever we do.
Harmony,
And wherever
balance.
that we're out of balance to one extreme or the other, we get problems,
Yes. Out of
right?
balance. And then the law of
Yeah,
rhythm kicks in to kind of readjust
right.
that balance. All
So
right. Yeah.
supposing that balance extended, to encompass on body on multidimensional identity, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
what is there possibly in the whole creation, that you could not achieve? Huh? Because first of all, with your imbalance, you would know whether you wanted to achieve that thing anyway.
Uh-huh.
Most of the things we want to achieve or we try to achieve, when we achieve them, they're, they're not fulfilled. There's no fulfillment there because they're out of alignment or out of balance with who we
Yes,
actually
yes.
are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
if we are in balance, then we will always choose in alignment and in harmony or in balance with the rest of creation.
Yes.
Creation is based on balance. If there's
Yeah, that's
anything
right. That's right,
any
bro.
imbalance, there's problem,
That's
right?
correct. That's
Right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay, not to drag this out too much. Let me see if I can do this.
Go on, say that apart again.
I said not to drag things out too much.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to see if I can consolidate the main points,
Uh-huh.
the main principles, so that we have something on the table
Uh-huh.
to look at that will help us to move forward on our journey.
Yes.
You know?
Uh-huh.
So what is the main thing that I'm actually trying to present here? The main thing I'm trying to present here is that in the new paradigm,
Go on.
you are
This is something's cut out there again. So if you said something, we didn't hear it. So say it again, brother. The paradigm. Yes. Gita? Gita? Gita! Are you there? Wow, we got some interference. It's like this is like,
This is
yeah, something's cutting out. Do you want us to try that try that again one more time?
good. I'm saying that, in the new paradigm,
Uh huh.
or the new old paradigm, this is how it was, always was. It's not new. It's new to us because we've been so much out of alignment with it for
Okay.
centuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the new paradigm, we come into alignment with the dream time.
Okay.
Yeah, and try to understand what the dream time is. Now, suppose on this frequency, just for an example, we're resonating on say frequency 4, okay?
Uh huh.
And then in the dream time, we resonate on say frequency 10,
Okay.
okay? Now, when we go to sleep and we have our dream and we experience ourselves and so on and so forth, right?
Uh huh.
Huh?
Uh huh.
If a tiger's chasing you, you don't say, "Oh, no problem. It's only a dream. It's only a dream tiger." You're running to save your life. It's
Uh
real.
huh.
It's
Yeah.
only when you come back to this time
When you wake up,
that you
yeah.
go, "Oh, thank God."
Exactly. I was saying this earlier. Exactly. Yeah. Uh huh.
So now, in the new paradigm, what is happening is we are coming so much because the planetary frequency vibration is raising. We're intrinsically aligned with the planet and all of. So we are raising our frequency to align or to match, have a vibrational match with the dream time, in which all of what we desire is already existing.
Yes. Yes.
So we are now learning to leverage the dream time. Dream time doesn't mean you have to be asleep. You can be sitting down on a bus or wherever you are, and you simply envision yourself the grandest version of the greatest vision you could behold of anything, any outcome you desire to see the outcome of.
Yeah.
Because that outcome is already existing in the dream time.
I get
You
you.
simply have to raise your frequency to make a vibrational match with that and then experience it in this time.
Yeah.
That is what the ancients, our ancestors, and all these things, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead,
Yeah.
all of those books of the dead, all of these astral, because the astral plane, you don't want to spend too much time there because the astral plane is weaponized.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend too much time there. Yeah.
All right.
Unless you can raise your frequency, then you can raise above that. You can be there.
I hear you. I hear you. Is tuning into the field of all potential and possibilities, and becoming a vibrational frequency match to that which you want to actualize out of that field of potential. My brother, go on.
All right. So I think I've come to the end of my little rant here.
It's not a rant, brother. I mean, it's very, it's very powerful and useful. Everything what you're saying is valuable jewels there. But I would think it'd be better to have you in the show one evening with us, so we can get more clarity and not have all of this, the sound coming the way it's coming over. But Gita, I really do think that you calling in. And everything you said, brother, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, if you was here, we could break it down a bit more. I could question you even on it, just to stretch it out, and get deeper in it. But for now, we're gonna have to stick a pin in that part, and just want to tell you thank you very much, brother. You know what I'm saying? For what you shared and what you called in to say. You know what I'm saying? I always value your knowledge, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
You see?
Wholeness and balanced vibration.
Yes.
You know what I'm now using this as my kind of little mantra now. Before I used to be peace and blessings. Now it's wholeness and balanced vibration.
All right.
Now if you stick with that, stick with that in the morning when you're doing the spiritual hygiene, you stick with that concept, that thought, and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
I hear you. Okay.
But when we say oneness, we still like, still the separation. The holiness,
Okay. Okay. Listen, Gita, I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to all right. Okay. So, we're gonna have to have you in the show, brother, because some things it seems like people can't hear it so clearly. Something's up with the sound and all of that, and a lot of what you said. But I will reiterate it and so forth, and just fill people in with the important parts. And we're gonna see if we can get you in on the studio. You know what I'm saying? So, just say one more: wholeness and balance vibrations, basically.
Wholeness and balance.
Vibrations, exactly.
That's the highest level, you know.
Yes.
We could ever bestow on ourselves or anybody else.
I get that. I get you.
From my perspective.
Yes. Okay. All right, Gita. Wonderful, brother, having you on the show. Yeah, we will talk again, and thank you again for your contribution, brother. Okay? All right. Peace. Wholeness and balanced vibrations. All right, brother. Okay. Okay, yo. Yes, that was Brother Gita. I mean, for the listeners, if you weren't able to hear the, clarity in what Gita was saying, I mean, it was brilliant stuff. And he was talking about dream time, and that the time we're in now, we're in a different paradigm. Basically, the old paradigm was of faith and belief, where people were. Where you still see a lot of people stuck in the old paradigm, because it's about separation. You're believing and having faith in what you're believing in. You're trusting in what you're believing in, and what you're trusting in and believing in is also outside of you, separate, apart from you. And that was the old paradigm, which has created this separation. And within that separation, fear has been bred, like what I was talking about earlier. You get in the subway, you hear mind the gap. You have to mind the gap, because if you watch yourself fall down in there and everything done, you see? So the gap is symbolic of separation. And when we have been caught up in the belief of being separate from the very source of life, which is within us, this is where we end up having these beliefs and believing in phantoms, believing in these untruths. And this is where fear crept in. And then fear, as I said, is what makes people want to do harm to others out of the idea of trying to protect, self-preserve themselves, by either killing what they feel threatened by. Then after they kill it, then you're safe, or you put up some wall to protect yourself from what you feel insecure about. And this is how the show's been going on. And people have been projecting their illusions outside. They're not seeing that this is coming from their mind. The causal aspect is coming from what they're believing in, from the mind, the mental level. But what we do, we project this illusion outside and want to attack the mirror, and then we're blaming and pointing finger at the mirror and everything but ourselves. And that's what the illusion has in the old paradigm has supported. Okay, and what Gita's saying also now is that we're in a new paradigm where it's about connecting through the dream time to the highest, grandest version of ourselves. Where we are realizing that we are one with the infinite source and all possibilities, the whole, the ocean of potential, and that it's about the vibrational frequency that we align ourselves with, so we can match that vibrational frequency within the ocean of potentiality, which is aligned to the highest and grandest version of ourself, the heroic probability, and then we actualize that. You see what I mean? Because what's happening now is that whatever you think you are, that's what you is. And I don't mean that from some egotistical aspect. I'm talking about the fact that, you have some people that would say, look, they got this limited view about the nature of the Creator and their relationship to it. And based upon that limitations, what they're thinking, that's what they're saying they are. So because that's what you're saying you are, you're vibrating at that frequency, and then that's what you're going to become a vibrational match to. Now, that's okay if it's a harmonious or, wholeness and balanced vibrations, as Gita said. But if that's not what you're tuning into as who you are, then the consequences, as the effects from the cause is going to be, hey, I got another caller coming in. Well, that's going to be, something not pleasant. Caller. Hi there. Hello? Caller? Okay, somebody just called in, and I think they were just calling in to say, hey, yo, I'm listening, yo. And, okay, well, thank you, caller. I am. And you didn't feel you had something to say. That's okay. Call in just to let us know that you're listening and tuning in. That's beautiful. So I'm just giving a kind of a review, a brief review of what Gita was saying, just in case most of you weren't able to hear it because of the sound, the poor sound quality. So, we're in a new paradigm. This is what he's saying, and that we are entering into the dream time where we can create, because we are the creators, and so we can then align ourselves up with the highest, grandest version of ourselves. But at the same time, whatever you're thinking and believing yourself to be, this is what vibrational frequency you're going to become a match to, and this is what you will end up being the consequences of your experience, or of what you're, giving attention to, okay, or giving your energy into. So check this out. So so this is what Gita was saying. I'm giving you a rendition of it, but obviously in his own words, you would have been better able to hear that if the sound quality wasn't so poor. But this is basically what he was saying. So that's in contribution to what this whole topic is about this evening, about what is spiritual awakening. And the fact that we're in this period of time where we're waking up to, all right, let me put it this way. The supreme being within yourself, you're waking up to yourself. This is what this grand awakening is really about. Okay, but anyway, there's some other stuff I want to add, but I will drop that in a minute. But I want to speak with my guest in the studio this evening, who has been patiently, and presented the award, comes and presents me an award, sits there, just comes in, sitting there like, oh, bro, I'm just parking, I'm just, burning time, like, and then really while going, my brother, and come for surprise me with hey, you know what I'm saying, with an award, which I didn't expect. So that is a pleasant surprise, brother Jammers.
Greetings, sire. Greetings. Now I'm put you turn the tables around now. Put me on the spot. I put you on the spot.
Oh, yeah, you hear that? Yes, that's true. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it is. That's how it is. It's all good. It's all pleasant. It's all for our growth and expansion.
Yeah, man.
I'm very pleased to have you on the show, brother.
Good to be here, man. I'm just absorbing this information to find out where I can come in. It's serious,
Well, whatever you feel. I mean, what would you feel you would like to, from what you've heard so far? And the topic is spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And you've heard the different type of angles of embellishing.
I can just endorse what the brother was saying. But what's the name of the period of the dream time called? Firstly,
well, the period of the dream time. What it is? We're talking about the period we're in now is a stellar activation cycle. Yeah, right. That's what it would be. Some people are talking about the age of Aquarius, which would be officially. We would officially enter into that in 2025. So that's, that's around the corner. And that was the period that in ancient times was being presented as the golden age, okay? Where we're now coming into the knowing rather than being in the age of believing, which was Piscean age.
Right, okay.
But the thing with Pisces, the Piscean is really about the source, okay, within you. Right. But we went through 2,000 years of all of this false indoctrination where people were caught up in the paradigm of faith and belief of their source, which they call in God, out separate and outside of themselves. So this caused a whole heap of suffering and pain and madness. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the Spanish Inquisition, wasn't that around 500 years ago? So look, that wasn't even thousands, bro. That was half a thousand years ago. And we're talking about 2,000 years of the Piscean age, where they equate that to the time of Yeshua, Jesus, Christianity, 2,000 years ago, when the other religions were about 6,000 years. But this planet's been around, what so-called scientists are saying, for over 48 billion years. So you can see how limited in the knowledge of our real selves. You know what I'm saying? We've really, we've been able to access. So we've been caught up for 2,000 years in faith and belief, and now we're in the new cycle where we've completed 26,000 years cycle. Is the Mayans, had their big calendars, and they were talking about the mark of that ended in 2012. But the thing is also that correlates with the stellar activation cycle, other ways of calling it. You see what I mean? And this is the paradigm Gita's talking about now that we're in. You see what I'm saying? This is what we're in. And this is why you see the stuff going on. Everything's just coming up. All of the toxic of the swamp just getting drained out, and all of the stuff that's been hidden is being revealed. You see what I mean? But that's and some of it, and a lot of it is distorted and very sick. But just like any healing, you gotta detox, you gotta purify, you gotta purge. You understand? And this is the purification stage. My brother, go on.
Well, I'm going to take my easiest option to come in and just on the language. So I just want to, as a contribution to how the language has created the dream cycle, and then after that, then of course you get into the cycle of nine. So basically, the lower level learning in ancient Kemet was hieratic and demotic. The higher level was the hieroglyph.
Yeah.
The current cycle, the hieratic text was used for accounts and legal.
Okay.
It wasn't used for wisdom.
Right.
What's happened is they went into the pyramids, didn't have a clue what they was looking for, like a rubber who don't know what to take.
Well, it's children, pitney. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, when I deal with pitney, them is just infants in the higher wisdom, so they don't even understand what it is.
So,
Carry on.
So what happened is they left the brain behind and ran away with a calculator, thinking they got a result. So what's happened is now the study of ancient knowledge, the knowing, was the hieroglyph, that was the study of wisdom, but it was active wisdom, wisdom in action,
living wisdom. Yes,
they've left the brain behind that deciphers that, and they've run off with a calculator. So all they can do is think about wisdom. This means that you are using abstract words, because you're working with the calculator's language, which is the phonetics that we're using now. So you can only think, philosophize, and summarize, but you can't activate the wisdom because you're using abstract words. Because you're using abstract words now, abstract words is the coulda, shoulda. When you go to a dictionary, it's not telling you what the thing is. It's saying coulda, shoulda, woulda. Abstract words make you think. Thinking makes your mind susceptible to trust and have faith in something. Trust and have faith in something is the first stepping stone for believing. So basically your mind has been created into moving towards a belief system, and when you trust and have faith in something, that's the first dynamic you need to get conned, because you can't get conned until you trust and believe. So basically the language system, because they've run away with the calculator now, they're trying to use a thinking process to extract wisdom. All it is doing is creating a belief system, and then the person who creates the belief system then sets up the set of rules and becomes the authority, and then he's primed you into this believing system. So that, as you're saying, this is the system that we're coming out.
And what you're saying there, with all that thinking, now getting you into the thinking, this is how the counterfeit identity got developed, or more strengthened. What we call the ego, the counterfeit identity. Because I was saying earlier about, how the false identity, has become established based upon, we're just in this thinking, and everybody were like, Lord have mercy. Now their lives, their thoughts and feelings are being dictated to them by their thinking. So they now believe in their thoughts are telling them this and that. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, man, you just need to quiet that and get in touch with your real self. Beyond the thoughts. And
then what happens, bouncing off what you're saying, and you're looking at shoulda, woulda, coulda, then you have no sense of your identity.
There you go.
All of a sudden, mister, me hit my finger. I'm my toe. I'm a piece of religion. I'm a piece of land. I'm a colour. No, I'm a philosophy. No, I'm an ideologist. No, I'm a conservative.
All separated, fragmented.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is what you see as the reflection. Just a shout out to Brother Carl X, who just entered into the building, y'all. So you're gonna have some good uplifting tune them. You know what I'm saying? After the show. But yes, Brother Jam is exactly, brother. There is the process and how this has come about. You know what I mean? I've just seen a message, Sister Natasha. She's asking me, don't forget before the end of the show to do the I am meditation. I will do that. I will make sure. And I'm going to have to kind of wrap things up very shortly, but I'm just giving my brother time to kind of, establish himself. But Jammers, absolutely, I hear what you're saying. We have to understand the process in how we got to where we are. But now we have to realize that was how the old paradigm was set up. And now it's about dropping that. And now we must be in harmony with the new paradigm where it's about knowing. Hence why Aquarius, the mantra of Aquarius is, I know. You see? So it's about I knowing thyself.
And how do you access that transform yourself from the believing to the knowing?
Well, this is where it's now why, with Aquarius, for example, look at the time, look at what we're in. We're in the information age. You can just Google up stuff. To be ignorant now is a choice. You see what I'm saying? So what it is, it's about you taking now, it's a lot of the insight. Your soul is coming online, is waking up. The dreamer is waking up out of the dream. And through the increase of that awakening process taking place is how the knowledge which is already encoded within inside of ourselves is now coming online. But through the process of that taking place is where we got to now clear out, like purge, clean out the dirty cup, like I was saying last Tuesday, from the erroneous beliefs that we have held on to, which has been held on in the body on a cellular level. Yeah. But it's actually at the mind level we need to clear all of this stuff out. So because it's the mind that that then projects into the body, yeah, the state the mind is at. You see what I'm saying? So this is it's a process, yo. It's those who you got at the same time you got to understand. There are people who want to hold on to the old days, the old ways, the old thing, the old thinking. Yeah? And deep in the subconscious of in the unconscious aspect of the subconscious is this belief so strong in separation. And within separation, you have fear, not love. If you look at love as unity, realize, even when we're even going to say, you hug somebody up and you connect with them and you have this resonance, there's that closeness, there's that union, you see? But now that still is a separate thing, outside one person to another person. But I'm just using that as an analogy to say, look, love would indicate connectivity, where you realize your oneness, your connection, not separation from that which is the source of you, okay? But this is not going to be found outside of you. It's going to be realized inside of you, yeah? But then when you're dealing with fear, the fear is what is the separation. You want to put distance between that which you fear. So now what's happened, people have, when you realize that yourself is the love, you are the divine being, you have the ego, which is all about the separation and the fear-based thinking. It's going to be afraid of itself because the ego is afraid of love. It's afraid of its own self. This is how the conditioning has taken place. So people are more operating out of fear and separation. You see what I'm saying?
Could you just rerun that about why would the ego be frightened? I thought the ego was the bad boy.
Yeah, well, that's it. The ego is afraid. You see what I mean? The ego, the counterfeit ego, is what's operating and keeping you in this fear-based reaction to things that you want to attack because you're afraid of it. You see what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying there, brother?
Yeah.
Yeah? Your real self don't have fear. Love is not fear. I'm trying to simplify it. Love isn't fear. Love is you. Yeah, because when you're dealing with the source of your being, the effect cannot be different to the cause. So when we're dealing with the original causation and the nature of that causation, we're talking about the omnipotent absolute source of creation. We can say Father, which means the source. You got Father, Mother, Life, because you're dealing with a parental consciousness in the way it operates. The more you go and study yourself and the more you inner experience this, you will know for yourself. It's not about believing. But you see, so what I'm saying is that therefore you are the manifestation of love because you cannot be different from the source of the nature of your source. You cannot be different from the cause. You see? So the original single cause is love, and therefore you are a manifestation of that. So you're already a unified whole being. Even when I said a long time before, when we used to talk about words, and I said, look at the word individual. It's a composite of indivisible duality, which means you're an inseparable duality. You see what I'm saying? Because you know, you got masculine and feminine. So when you're in inseparable duality, you realize you're a whole unit. You see what I'm saying? You're not a separate being. You're a whole unit. Even where we get the term perfect from. In the Western, from the ego perspective now, from the counterfeit ego, it looks at perfection as something separate. None of us is perfect. Nobody's perfect. Now, we know the word premise. The premise. I mean, I say premise, but it's the same word, premise. If your premise, which is the foundation of the trajectory of where you're taking your journey, you're taking yourself on a journey, right? If it is incorrect, then everything else after that. If premise A is incorrect, then B, C, D, everything else is going to be incorrect. So we have to always make sure that the premise that we are using as our foundation, that we're using at the trajectory of our consciousness, is on a firm foundation. It's on an authentic, you see what I'm saying, foundation. So what you have is that people turn around and look at the word perfect as if to say, well, nothing's perfect. Not even God's perfect. Look at the creation. Creation ain't perfect, because if something's perfect, there's no more growth. There's no more development. Now that's stupidness. That's coming from the counterfeit ego. You see what I'm saying? That looks at things as separate. It cannot accept itself as whole because it can't perceive that. You see what I mean? Because it's in fear and separation from its own self. Yeah? It's the illusion we're buying into. So you get then people thinking like, no one's perfect, nothing's perfect. Yet in the scripture it says, be as perfect as your Father in heaven. Now the thing is, perfect doesn't mean that you've never made a mistake. Yeah? As what some people would say. Look, or perfect doesn't mean that there's no more room for growth. Perfect simply means complete. Whole and complete. When you look at a circle 360 degrees, where you can neither tell the beginning or the end of where that circle began or ends, then you see the circle was an ancient symbol for the absolute. Yeah, we wouldn't use a word that was limiting for that which is limited. So this is hence where we're dealing with hieroglyphics, and we're talking about living wisdom, living symbols, which is living truth. Yeah, that was teaching, that's the high priesthood talking. Yeah, that's high priesthood language. So when we're dealing with the symbol of the zero, the empty circle, the circle with the empty space, that was symbolic of the absolute, okay? Because now you're saying is that you got completion, okay? Circle. But that circle can expand. The boundaries of the circle, just the periphery just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, okay? The empty space inside the circle, yeah, keeps, the more the periphery of the circle expands, the more there is more space that it expands in. Now you're dealing with perfection, which is already complete, but it's also growing and expanding in its own completeness. You see what I'm saying? So this is when you're dealing with the hieroglyphics that have the priesthoods in ancient Kemet and in other cultures were dealing with the knowledge of the Creator. It's just that different priesthoods would approach the knowledge of the Creator and themselves from a different view. You see what I mean? It's like you're sitting amongst other people around a round table, but everybody's looking at the center of that table, and they're sitting all around it. But each one is having a different viewpoint of the same point that everybody can see at the center of the table. So the priesthood was coming from different viewpoints about the same thing, which therefore gave you the diversity and the multiplicity of the infinity of the Creator. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have this limitedness about that which is unlimited. So this is what the different priesthoods represents, that some people believe they were worshiping different gods and all of this type of stuff. That comes with misunderstanding. That's when you got, only a fool leans upon their misunderstanding, where they have no understanding. Yeah? And fools die for want of wisdom. You see what I'm saying? And this is the scenario. When you're identifying with the fictitious self, believing you are just this physical vehicle and this personal self-image that was developed from childhood, you know what I mean? You know, the false ideas we accumulate through the emotional impressions that we received. And we haven't grown beyond that to gain any higher awareness of who we are. A lot of people still act and operate and function within that limited framework. Yeah. So this is what it is. But look here, I'm going to just because my brother, Carl, you ready? Because you look like you have study. My brother, I listen to him. Am I tuned into some tune there?
No,
Yeah.
no. You know me. I just.
Yes, I hear you.
I tuned in to what you're
All right, all right. So I'm going to wrap this up very shortly. I'm going to do the I am meditation before, and Jammers, you need to come in next week, next strong. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Come in next strong so we can go more into
some-
what you're saying there.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
no problem with
Yeah?
that, that's
Yeah,
all-
brother?
that's all good, man.
All right, you see?
So good.
And yes, a shout out to Brother Geeter again. You know, apologies for what was happening there with the clash in the frequencies there, so we couldn't hear the what you were saying as clearly. But I trust that the listeners are able to hear the review I gave of it, and we're able to pick up and make sense of what was being said. One more thing I want to say before I go into the I am meditation. As Jammers can see, you know, I'm reading this. This is my writings. Here, everybody, look upon it. This is over 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I still have this whole book and it's falling apart. And I'm like, right, not. You know what I mean? Pick it up today. I said, yeah, man, look upon these damn things. Look upon this damn stuff I've written. Wow. Okay. Well, this is quite pertinent and relevant to now. So there's a part I want to explain about the mind. And then after this, I'm going to do the I am meditation. And I'm just going to give you the instruction how you do it, and then you continue to do it yourself. Okay? So you can still these thoughts and stop identifying with the thoughts. You know, you are the master. You select what thoughts, what frequencies you want to tune into. Okay? Not having the thoughts rule you. This is what happens when you're focusing on the false identity called the ego personality, or your personal self-image. You're not a person. Yeah? You are consciousness. Okay? And consciousness is immutable. Anyway, let me just get into this. Mind. Because a lot of people talk about my mind and what the mind is. And yeah, we think we know. Well, let's go into the deeper science of the mind. Okay? Mind has no power of its own. Nor does mind claim any power for itself. Because it cannot. The perfect activity is expressed by consciousness intelligence. Consciousness and intelligence existed long before you came into this plane at all. You do not create consciousness, nor intelligence. But consciousness and intelligence created your body out of substance. The substance of itself is perfect in itself, but substance responds according to the thought emanating. This substance is what you called mind. Yeah? This substance is what you call the mind. Okay? That's why you say you can create things with your mind, you know. But that's the creative substance that consciousness intelligence actually uses to create everything. So in the ancient Kabbalion and what they done and changed up the principles of Tahuti, you'll hear them say all in the immutable laws, one of the immutable laws, which is all is consciousness, they changed it to all is mental. Which keeps you locked on the mental plane rather than on the spiritual plane. Because the mental is the second plane. Yeah? You got the three great planes. Spiritual, mental, and physical. Right? So I've always said for years, and when people chat about mind, I said, well, actually, consciousness is broader than mind. But a lot of people get stuck in the mind. And then you have a minefield. Hence, minefield is what they use for war zones. And you got to be careful where you step, careful where you tread, because explosion. And that's what you got. Everybody's got an explosive mind because they're holding on to a so-called defined identity, which ain't you. And you're trying to defend it. You see what I'm saying? So you get an explosion. So anyway, quickly to complete this part. So this substance is what is called mind. It has no power of its own. Yeah, it has no power of its own, but is given power by consciousness and intelligence. Yeah, consciousness and intelligence is your real self, unlimited and eternal. And I'll stick a pin on that right there. So just making it clear that there is a difference between mind and consciousness intelligence. Consciousness intelligence is you. The substance that is used, that consciousness intelligence uses to create everything out of, is what is called mind. Okay? So don't get stuck in your mind, because you are beyond that. So on this last note, as I promised, I'm going to read out the I am meditation, and then it's good night from I and I till, yep, the next time the firefly fly. So let me just get it up again. The I am meditation, because this is something that you all can use and work with, and it's very, very simple. But the thing is, with something that is simple, you need to be consistent with it. And because it's so simple, some people are like, oh, really? Is that all it is? Well, you know what I mean? Why you want everything to be so, you know, complex for? But here's a joke. There's simplicity and complexity. And there's complexity and simplicity. So you have to realize everything can be the same thing. You know what I mean? When you deal with, it's the both. It's not one or the other. You understand? So here we go with the I am meditation. What it is, and just check these are instructions I'm going to give you. And you can write this down. But this is how, it's so simple. So to practice the I am meditation, for when you practice it, you know, this is how you go with it. The first thing you do, you make yourself comfortable. Okay? We cool? We all can do it if we want to do it in this here studio. But look here, the first thing you do is make yourself comfortable. Right? You can relax in your chair. You can lay down. You can sit down on the ground, just as long as you relax. Yeah? So you don't have to go into, you know, double lotus position or so. If you can do that, that's where you do that. But this does not, you know, this, you got to understand, accessing who you is not dependent upon some posture. You just need to be relaxed. So the first thing you do is make yourself comfortable. You relax in your chair or wherever you know, whether you're sitting down or laying down. But if you're laying down, don't go to sleep, right? All right. So you close your eyes, okay? To remove obstructions. Yeah? You close your eyes to remove obstructions. You begin to observe your breath, the inflow and the outflow of your own respiration. You don't try to do no breathing exercise. You don't emphasize the breath. You just observe the inflow and outflow of your breath. You observe your breath. Now, if your body does not feel comfortable or relaxed, tell it to relax. Tell it to relax. Whatever parts you feel is not relaxed, just tell it to relax. Right? Now, you tell the body you tell it to relax. Now, you may work your way up from your toes to your head or from your head to your toes, telling every part of your body to relax. Again, you become cognizant of your breath, meaning you become aware of your breath, the natural inflow and outflow of your breath. The way you breathe normally, that's what I mean. Your feelings, you become aware of them. While you are observing the inflow and the outflow of your breath, you're just being aware of your feelings. You become aware of them. You become the witness. You are observing yourself breathing and feeling. That's what you're doing. You're observing yourself breathing and feeling. Then you ask yourself this question: who is the observer? Who is doing the observing? And with your respiration, you begin the meditation. You inhale and you say, I. You don't speak out, you say it inside. So as you breathe in, you're I. Okay? And as you exhale, you say, am. Yeah? Then you rest in the silence a moment. You rest in the silence a moment or so, and then you say, I am again. Okay? With your respiration. So you breathe in, and as you're breathing in, you're saying inside yourself the thought, I. And as you breathe out, okay? But you're not speaking this with your mouth. You're not speaking this out. You're saying this all internally. But you're observing your respiration and your feeling. And then you add I am with the in. When you inhale, you say I. When you exhale, you say am. Okay? After a long practice, yeah, the space between the I am will become greater and greater. right? So, all right, you'll get that, okay? It'll become greater and greater. I, and then the am, but by the time the am comes, it's going to be quite a long time. You're going to notice this, right? And you will begin to feel that you are consciousness. So practice I am meditation. And that's how the I am meditation is. Okay? So I trust you get this. Okay? When you're observing yourself, you're the observer and you're asking who's observing. Yeah, this is the question you're asking. Who's doing the observing? Who is observing? Yeah? And then with your respiration, you breathe in I. And with the out, and as you exhale, it's am. Okay? And you observe this. So this is how simple it is. It's not complex anything. But what it is, it's getting you to become aware that you are the observer. That you are consciousness. Even if thoughts come to your mind. Who's these thoughts? Who's these thoughts coming to? You don't even have to think. You just observe the thoughts as well. As you observe your feeling with the breath, the respiration. And with the inhale, you inhale I. And with the exhale, you say am. Internally with yourself. So I hope that was clear enough for you all. Yeah? My brothers and sisters, my soul brothers and sisters. And with that, on that note, it's going to be good night from I, and good night from
Jammers Boom family. Hope you keep listening and big up the Blessed family. And of course, the award-winning Conscious Speaker of the Year, Siayome live here.
Well, give thanks for that. That's really, pleasant surprise. And we are going to, after I leave, we are going to be, warmly received by Brother Carl X. You want to say something, Maya? Yeah, all right. Well, may I wrap it up soon? So he's gonna talk to you with the music, yeah? So, all right. I trust you enjoyed this show and it was informative for you. And catch me on the flip side next Tuesday on the Cosmic Root Show, okay? So here we are, and good night, y'all.